Coming up this week on episode 89 of the Odd Dad Out podcast, I've got jury duty this week. Yay! And it's not even the first time. Somehow, everything in the news just came up China this week, even down to the Jackass of the week, where a guy seems to think that tofu is just only for vegans. But then I lightened things up a bit and actually learn a little something with a couple of special guests for this week's featured podcast, Varmints.
Beginning Odd Dad Out podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Odd Dad Out podcast, where normal is not my specialty. I am your host, as always, the ever so chipper Adam Higgins, and this is the show where I share my twisted little stories and whatnots and going on in my life, and I share some weird news and make fun of people and wrap it all up with a podcast that I think you need to listen to because, like I always say, sharing is caring. So, before I jump into things, I do want to mention something I've kind of neglected, and I always said I was going to do, and I always find it hard, at least within the way that I do the show, to work in reading reviews or at least acknowledging the people who do review the show in iTunes or Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that they're finding it. And so it's always been kind of hard for me because I'm kind of bullshitting for an hour. And so trying to work something in like that and just to formally acknowledge it's a little trickier. But I do want to thank everybody who's left me reviews in Apple Podcasts or iTunes, again, whatever it is, whatever it was called at the time that, or app or whatever you used, because I know it's different if it's like on your phone or on the computer. I don't really totally know. I use Android, so sorry. But anyway, I do want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to the What It Do podcast, Hungry Joe 12, Chris the Mole Man, Still Dave in Wisconsin. It says W-I. I think that's Wisconsin. Yeah, I think W-Y is Wyoming, right? I can't remember my state abbreviations right now. Heroic Villain 12, Dr. Toboggan, O'Neill 5299, Comic Book Nation 45, of course, the Pizza Podcast, the Crazy Town Podcast, Nerds with Words, Boondoggle, the Pod Couple, Tiny Jolene, Anazoria, which I believe is Gareth from Gareth's Random Ramblings, and of course, my original podcast partner in crime, the Loco Newman. Thank you, everybody, for your reviews and all the great things that everybody said. And it's too much to go. I mean, I was somewhere in the 15, 16. I can't read all of that right now. And a lot of them I've read before. But thank you to everybody, because it really, getting any feedback and seeing that all the stuff that you guys say and the stuff you dig about the show, interestingly enough, everybody likes the episode where I talk about having poisoned myself and my son, whatever. But thank you, because it really just kind of is awesome to me seeing anybody, that anybody's listening, and that it's the little things that kind of, what Dave Jackson say, that's what puts gas in your tank when you're doing this, is just getting that little bit of feedback and getting that sort of recognition. It was like, hey, yeah, it's a good show. It's, you're not talking to yourself out there. It's really cool, and it's really awesome of all of you guys. And if you want to show your appreciation, you can leave me a review in Apple Podcast or iTunes or the Apple ecosphere thing. Or if you're like me and you use an Android and you really don't want to go through the hassle of doing all that in iTunes and Apple-y whatever, who's it wants it, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/odddadout, and leave me a review there. Because I personally find that a hell of a lot easier, and you can do it from anywhere. Because come on, let's be fair, everybody's got Facebook on their phone. Everybody's, or just drop me a line on Twitter at odddadout and just say, hey, dig the show, 2 thumbs up, whatever. That does the same for me. I don't need some fancy iTunes review or whatever. I don't care about that. If you want to do it, go ahead. Sure. What the hell? Or better yet, tell a friend, or hijack your friend's phone and subscribe to the show and just stick it. No, listen to this asshole. That's it. That's what you need to do. Steal your friend's phone, subscribe to the show on their phone, shove their earphones in there, and just say, listen to this crazy bastard. Yep, that's what you need to do. Better than any iTunes review. Yep. Anyway, getting back on track, because, me and staying on track is just impossible. But, yeah, like I said at the beginning, I've got jury duty. I've got jury duty tomorrow, which, just royally sucks. And like I said, it's not the first time I've had jury duty either. And I'm trying to remember the little video they show you when you got to go to jury duty about all the rules and regulations and why the hell am I getting picked again and all this kind of crap. Because I know there's time limits and you can only get picked so often and all that sort of crap. And it's it's been 3 years. At least 2.5 years. But one of the last time I got picked was for a county. It was I had to go all the way downtown to the county courthouse. Tomorrow is local city jury duty, so it's probably traffic court or something like that. So I think it's it's this court is this time I'm in, this court's that time of it. But I'm just man, I'm if you've had to serve jury duty, I don't know what it is in other states, but I know in the state of Arizona, when you get called for jury duty, you have to go and register online and basically put in in my case, try and put in for an exemption or an excuse. It was hey, can I get out of this shit? I've got kids. I've got to stay home and take care of my kids. This is really, difficult for me to show up for jury duty. And basically both times, I've put in, care for, a family member or whatever, I'm a caretaker, blah, blah, blah. And they basically no, taking care of your kids is not a valid excuse for jury duty. Honestly, that's just kind of bullshit. My kids are 2 and 4. If they were going to be in daycare, or I could put them in daycare or whatever, they would be there. I wouldn't be using that as an excuse. So that's kind of bullshit. But yeah, apparently that's not a valid reason. And so if you put basically, it's anything short of my, I think it's if you have to basically be a breastfeeding mother to use that as an excuse, which is bullshit. But, last time I went, it was just, I had to go all the way, because again, it was county. And so I had to drive all the way down to downtown Phoenix to the county courthouse in the middle of fucking downtown Phoenix. And I had to be there at 7:30 in the damn morning. And for those of you playing the home game, that's about 40 miles from my house through morning rush hour traffic, driving straight into the heart of the city from 4 suburbs away. And holy shit, fuck. God, I hate driving with rush hour traffic, but trying to do that and trying to drive into downtown from way the hell out where I live is just hell. On normal circumstances, that's a nightmare to do on a Tuesday at 1 in the afternoon, let alone with rush hour traffic. And then, of course, there's everybody reporting for jury duty. And I will give it to the city of Phoenix and Maricopa County and everything when it comes to, they got their stuff kind of somewhat streamlined, because there's a lot of courthouses. There's like the federal courthouse, and there's grand jury selection, and there's all these like multiple courthouses, multiple things downtown. And then they just have a single parking complex for jury duty. Like, if you're reporting for jury duty, this is the building, you park here, and there is a shuttle, or actually a series of shuttles that will take you, and it stops at the various buildings. Like, oh, you're stopping for this jury duty, get off here. If you're stopping for this, stop here. All that. It's like, so it's kind of efficient. It doesn't mean that I don't still have to drive into the middle of the fucking city, but it's at least, semi-efficient doing it that way. And then everybody unloads into, jury and all that crap. And, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'm glad that I've got local jury duty in the courthouse. Like, the city of Surprise is not all that big, and downtown, big air quotes, downtown Surprise, and the city office complexes, and like city hall and the courthouse and all that stuff, all that is like 5 minutes from my house. So, yay to that. I still don't want to fucking go to jury duty. But one of the things that they do, and again, I don't know if it's like this when in other states, but when you get your card and you check in, but it has a little thing that basically says the day before your jury duty, you call after 5 to check to make sure that it's still on. Or like, oh, you're given a secondary reporting time or something like that, and it'll tell you, oh yeah, and it's like, you need to be there at 8 a.m. or you need to be there at 1 p.m. or whatever. And so I'm really hoping, really hoping that this time I don't have to go, because it sucks. When I went last time, and I had to go all the fucking way downtown, and not only was it like, oh yeah, you've got to go in and all this crap, and I'm sitting there, and you're sitting there because they're like, oh yeah, you have to report and be there like by 8, and then all this stuff, and then they do like roll call or whatever the hell, and they do like this whole like, the rules and the responsibilities and it's a privilege to serve on a jury. It's like, fuck. For those, there are people that are fine and dandy and think it's a great right and privilege, and they're thrilled to serve on a jury. Let them serve on a jury. I don't want to. Like, never mind that it totally fucks up with my life, and like, I take care of my kids, and I work at night. This shit will mess me up. I can't afford to miss the time from work. I can't afford to not, I can't have anybody take care of my kids. So, if there's somebody out there that wants to serve on a jury, great, go for it. Let them serve. The people who don't want to, the people who want out of it, let them out. Because a lot of them will make up bullshit excuses to get out of it because they don't want to serve. And they're going to make shit jurors. I'm just saying. And I'm not talking about those people that are like super enthusiastic because they want to go in and fry a bastard. That's a whole other thing. But that'll get weeded out in the questions. But I remember when we're sitting there and there's like 50 of us in this room. And, of course, everybody's got a number and blah, blah, blah. And they stand up and ask you a bunch of questions. Do you have anything that, that would make, like, that you feel would make it so you cannot serve? And of course, I told them again, I take care of my kids all day. Like, my wife works during the day, I work at night, I take care of my kids, I'm Mr. Mom during the day. And the judge is being kind of an asshole, and he's like, well, it's like, don't you have any family or friends or neighbors or something? I was like, no. I was like, daycare is expensive, that's why I take care of my kids. I was like, well, who's watching your kids now? I was like, my sister took the day off of work just so I could come here, which is what's happening tomorrow, which is only a possibility because my sister is self-employed. And so she was able to rearrange her clients on that day to come and watch my boys. It's the same thing she's going to have to do for me tomorrow. I'm really hoping for both our sakes, she doesn't have to do that. Because, never mind it, my 2 boys are a handful. She has 2 kids of her own. She has a 2-year-old, and she has a newborn. I lose track of how old she is. She's like 6 months old or something. No. All those, no. And yeah, she's got 4 kids like I do, but her 2 older kids are in high school. So, yeah, I don't want to, and even if I did have, it's like, I've got her for tomorrow. For me to go in and say, hey, assholes, I can't fucking do jury duty. I can't be here for an extended period of time because I have to take care of my kids. But, last time the judge is being a dick and he's just like, hey, no, you need to find somebody. Like, you need to find some way that you can be here for the, 5 or 6 days while we do, I told him, I'll talk to my wife and see what we can do. And I told her, the only way that I'm going to be able to do this is if my wife takes off of work, which then turned into then it becomes financial hardship because suddenly all income in my household is gone for that time and it's unpaid. So it's then they finally excuse me. But that's after I've been at fucking jury duty since 7 o'clock and they made us go on fucking lunch. And I'm like, really, asshole? Make me go to fucking lunch? I told you I can't do it. I have no way to serve, especially driving the fuck downtown every day. Hell no. But I didn't get out of there until 3 in the afternoon. Bullshit. I didn't get out of there until 3 in the damn afternoon and have to drive back home at 3 in the damn afternoon. Fucking bullshit. He's like, and again, it's like an hour for me to get back home. And, God, fuck. I hate jury duty. I think most people hate jury duty. And I think that's fairly universal. Again, there are people that are super excited and yeah, it's a great thing. It's like, let the old people who want to be jurors. And there were some people that were there that I felt like their reasoning and their excuses that they got dismissed for were some more bullshit. Some were like, oh, I've got, police in my family. Or there was one guy who just straight up said, I hate cops. Whatever the case is, I'm going to side with the cops because one time, I got beat up by cops. So I was like, really, man? That's what you're going to go with? I was like, I got beat up by a cop once. I hate all cops. Fuck you pigs and that shit like that. And it's an old Mexican dude. I was like, you know what? I legit think maybe you had a bad experience with police. I seriously doubt that is going to keep you from fairly, trying or performing your task as a juror. For me, it's just, I can't fucking go. Never mind, I don't want to, but I can't fucking be there. And, other people were like, oh, I've got these medical bills, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, or I've got medical treatments I've got to go to, or I've got this thing that I can't get away from, or blah, blah, blah. Just me watching all these people drop as they're me being a responsible parent is less important than somebody who just hates cops. Really? I'm sorry, my kids are a hell of a lot more important to me and to, normal humanity. Taking care of my children is a hell of a lot fucking more important than that guy over there who just doesn't like cops and can't get over it. I'm sorry. You want to be an uptight fucking guy, or bullshit about it and pretend to be an uptight fucking guy who hates cops just so you don't have to do jury duty. But it was funny because, and if you follow me on Twitter, and I posted up kind of hey, here's a preview of the show, and a bunch of people, including Chris from the Couch Potato Files, and I'm assuming Paul from Varmints, were even telling me, it's like, hey, here's what to, tell them you host a podcast about police corruption, and Chris saying, it's like, yeah, pretend to be racist, so you want to fry. I remember when I was in high school, my algebra teacher, saying he always got out of jury duty because he told everybody that he wanted, that it's like, if they're here, they're guilty. It's like, I don't care. It's like somehow they did something to get here, they're guilty. So I was like, I have no problem serving on a jury, but whoever's here, they're guilty. And like, they don't like that guy. So he got out of it pretty much every time. If only I could, I'm too honest. That's my problem. I'm too honest when it comes to that shit. I'm not going to make up some reasoning like, oh, I'm a screaming racist. Fuck you, whatever. Person of whatever race that's going to be involved, or I can't pretend to be a level of asshole that I'm not, because I'm just too damn honest, which sucks. Sometimes I really wish I could bullshit my way through stuff like that, because it makes shit so much easier when you can just lie and say you're a screaming racist, but nowadays you don't even know, man. Like you can't even like try and play the racist card to get out of jury duty, because next thing you're going to get lynched when you walk out of the damn door. But anyway, that's enough bitching about jury duty for 1 week, I think. I'm hoping I get out of it. I really am. Or that at least I'm not there all damn day again. And my boss always tells me, like, yeah, I get out of it every time. I was like, it's for one reason or another, I get excused, or they like don't call my group or whatever. It's like, yeah, don't call my group. Let's not call my group. That's fine. So yeah, here's hoping. But that's enough with the jury duty. Okay. So I'm going to take a quick Podern Family promo break. And when I come back, we'll take a strange trip through China in the news.
Hey there, podcast fans. I'm Matt.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Becky.
And every Tuesday we're getting goofy and geeking out on pre-recorded live.
We talk nerdy news,
movies, comics, and TV.
Video games, music, and potpourri. Wait, what? Potpourri?
Pine cones and dried wood chips and dried flowers and stuff?
No, like, whatever.
So I could have just said whatever?
I think that's better.
Okay, so let's say video games, music, and whatever.
So check us out online at prereclive.wix.com/podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcasting app.
Don't worry, guys. I'll let that potpourri part out.
Terrific.
Mysteries, conspiracies, weird history, and the unexplained. A new topic each week. So join me, Curse the Mole Man, as we crack open a beer and maybe have a few laughs as we explore the weird and the strange of the Couch Potato Files. Check out a new episode every Friday at thecouchpotatofiles.com.
Bullshit from the news.
All right. Just a reminder, you can get the links to all of these stories and some pictures and stuff in the show notes at odddadout.blogspot.com. And once again, for some reason, the news just took me through China this week. Starting off with, and they're not too crazy. I'll admit that it's more of just because China. Because I kind of pick on Japan because there's so many Japanese stereotypes that are just weird. But we're going to go with because China this week. Starting off with a Hong Kong man who makes tiny houses from concrete pipes. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the tiny house movement and all these people that are like making these micro houses that are like, glorified tree houses. But they'll be like fully plumbed and they'll have, showers and stoves and things like this. And it's like a house for two people who, basically want to be able to move. And I've seen like that show, I think it's on TLC, the tiny houses. And some of them are really elaborate and really crazy. But it's like you can take your house wherever, which is good in one way and terrible in another way, because somebody could steal your house. But all that aside, an architect in Hong Kong, which happens to be one of the most populous cities in the world, like crap ton of people in Hong Kong, not a lot of actual space, has created a tiny house from old concrete water pipes. Those giant, like 8-foot diameter, like sewage pipes. And he's basically made little tiny houses out of those. that are about 1,000 square feet of living space. And they've got, mini fridges and a shower. And it's got like a little bench couch thing that converts into a bed. And it's actually kind of cool. And there's a video, there's a video in the show notes of this place, and it's really cool. And as far as like tiny house designs go, these are cool because they're stackable and kind of like they're pipes. So they can literally string them together and stack them and just build like scaffolding stairs. And he's got kind of a mock-up of basically almost like an apartment building made of all of these little mini houses stacked up together and just stairs going up to each of the doors. And it's a kind of a nifty thing. And it's kind of his solution to the Chinese population and housing crisis, because they can't build, they basically just have to keep building skyscrapers and skyscrapers and skyscrapers up to the damn, freaking moon for all of the people, because there's just so damn many people in a country that has a one child only rule. I don't even know if they still have that. That's always what they talk about. But like that supposedly has a one child only rule. There's a metric fuck ton of people in this city. And like I saw some things where there's like people are living in like, I think it's like 63 cubic feet. Basically living in a closet. Harry Potter's got more space in his closet under the stairs than some people that are paying a fuck ton of money to live in Hong Kong. And so this guy's like, hey, I can make these houses, like little micro apartments for people out of old sewage pipes, and we can like stick them under bridges in like empty spaces that are already there. It's like, oh, there's this space in this area, or there's this like gap between two buildings. We can put some of these right here. It's like, right, they fit in a lot of places, and we can make use of minimal empty space and build these in houses. And they're better than some of the spaces that a lot of people are living in, because since the housing problem, like there's so many people and so few houses, housing is expensive as shit. I saw a thing where it said that somebody paid like some ungodly, like $6,000 per square foot for one apartment in Hong Kong recently. That's just dumb. But you know what's even more dumb? These things are illegal in Hong Kong. The tiny houses and these houses made from kind of uncommon materials are currently illegal. And so they're trying to get these things, like there are people making houses out of shipping containers and things like that. And it's perfectly legal to make them, but it's illegal to live in them. And so they're trying to get the laws changed. Like, hey, we have at least a temporary solution for the housing thing. Can we actually live in these fucking houses? Because I can make a house here and I can put it and I've got space for it. I can make a house. So I don't have to, live in a closet. So let's change some laws. So they're trying to change the laws to do that. So, here goes, for all those people in China and Hong Kong especially who really need these houses, here's hoping they fix the laws. Moving on, Chinese dress seller models products himself. Yep, extra emphasis on the himself. A Chinese man who sells dresses on kind of, I don't know what type of, I guess it's kind of like Etsy. It's called Aliexpress. Has gone viral for posting images of himself modeling the products. Which is it's just kind of funny. And I guess, there was a story about like one person who said, oh, they were like, there's a place where you can buy prom dresses and wedding dresses, but they didn't want like the stock images. They didn't want some model in the dress, and the dress is obviously custom tailored to the model, and it's kind of stock photos of here's the dress. And so he, rather than paying somebody, he just puts on the dress, and you got, skinny Chinese guy taking pictures of himself in all these dresses. So it's kind of funny. But, way to go, dude, because it really is kind of, it's smart for him, both from hey, it's not costing him anything to take pictures of himself in a dress. Well, I guess when you look at it, he's completely in the picture, so somebody's taking the pictures for him. But it's like, hey, you want to see what the dress looks like? Here. And it's not on some unattainable model or whatever. It's like, it's on a dude. So this is like, what are you going to focus on? The dress. You're not like, oh, she's so pretty. No. Or I don't have that figure. Like, you're probably not going to have his figure, but you got a good idea of what the dress looks like. So, good on him. And it's a thing. It's kind of a catch. It's kind of a, hey, it's a great marketing thing. Check out the guy who who models his own dresses, and I'm not even going to rip on the guy or oh, it's a man in a dress. Like, it's funny because it's a guy in a dress, but it's funny not because it's a guy in a dress, but it's because it's a guy modeling dresses for his little web store. And so it's I'm not, and again, not hating on the guy. It's just a funny story because it's out of the ordinary. That's all. And like I said, there's not too much I can hate on the people in the stories this week. It just happened that all the news came up China. And I do have a picture of this guy in this long blue dress. And again, there's links to the full article with tons more pictures, but in the show notes, I've got a picture of this dude in this long blue dress. He's like a middle-aged, skinny, rather ordinary looking Chinese dude in this really nice dress. And there are a lot of really nice dresses. So, good on you, dude. But speaking of cross-dressing people, a woman finds out her boyfriend is in fact a woman. After her live-in boyfriend of over a year mysteriously disappeared, a Chinese woman discovered that he, air quotes, was in fact a woman in disguise. Yeah, not even a case of you thought that, you didn't realize that your boyfriend was a woman and you found out in bed or something. You're like, nope. Was in fact in disguise. She's now looking into taking legal action against her ex and his or her parents after she had spent over 300,000 yuan. I don't know what the pronunciation of Chinese currency is on her, and it's kind of feeling she got ripped off. It's like, so basically the way this goes, they're dating and this woman's divorced. She's got a kid and this guy comes along and is kind of flirting with her and hitting on her and they end up dating. They end up moving in together. And then out of the blue, he just kind of disappears. And so she starts to kind of she figured, she just left me and took off with somebody else or whatever. But something kind of seemed fishy. And so she kind of started investigating. It was like, hey, where did he go? What's going on? Doing a little public record search. I don't know if you can do public record search in China, but whatever. Pulled up their driver's license, which listed his gender as female. He's like, what? She actually goes back to meet his parents. Well, you met his parents before and they were really cool and they were like, yeah, fine, great. But goes back to meet his parents and she's like, what the hell is this shit? And she's kind of feeling like she got scammed. He'd spent all this money kind of lavishing gifts and things all over and on this guy to find out. It was like, ID says he's a woman. Are you guys ripping me off? What the hell's going on? And the parents are like, we have nothing. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, you're full of shit. Like, our daughter didn't do anything to you. They're thinking that this is just some financial dispute. And she's like, so you admit that this is your daughter, not a son? It was like, of course it's our daughter. She's just kind of a tomboy. And the parents are thoroughly convinced that, like, no, you had to know that was a woman. And you're like, no, I thought this was a guy. She used the men's room. She looks like a guy, and she kind of, she's sitting there feeling like these people are, scamming me or something. And so, like I said, now she's suing them, suing the mysteriously missing ex and, and parents for all the money. It's like, yeah, I can't blame her. You know, I'm not even going to fault them and say like, yeah, it was a woman who was kind of disguised as a man, but that's not so much the problem as took this chick for all this money and then disappeared. That's the part that's really fucked up. It's much less the male impersonator and more about the, you know, fucked off with all this money. So yeah, that sucks. And I really feel bad for her because, you know, what's she going to do? And apparently this isn't even an isolated incident. Apparently there was even a few more cases of this happening, in China where, and I'm just going to say it. Chinese or Asian men in general, Japanese and Chinese men especially, can be very gender neutral, like very asexual looking, and it is very easy. Sometimes Asian men are very effeminate looking, and as a result, Asian women can pass as those effeminate looking Asian men. And so you can't really tell. They're all very generally fair featured. They're generally softer featured. So it's entirely plausible that you would not know, given the right clothes, like right clothes, right hairstyle, you may not be able to tell a male from a female, which sucks. And I'm going to say it's not a problem you typically have with non-Asians, basically, because it's almost explicitly an Asian thing. Like, you know, don't get all racially insensitive on me or anything. It's like white people don't have that problem. Black people don't so much have that problem. You know, Hispanics generally don't have that problem. The only way any other racial group really is going to get gender crossed is if they're a drag queen. And then you're trying. With the right hair and makeup and outfit, even I could look like a woman. You know, I've got the long hair for it, but I'm not shaving my legs. I don't care. Anyway, this brings me to probably another weak transition. Something this woman might want to look into. Chinese app offers designated drinker service for businessmen. So apparently in China, heavy drinking is kind of a thing. Very specifically, it's a major part of negotiating like business deals and things like that. It's like you go out, you go out to the bar, and like even in America, like a lot of business deals are done in strip clubs. And not that I know this from personal experience, but come on, everybody's seen The Sopranos. But yeah, there's like a lot of business deals that are done in clubs and in comfortable environments, or even just go out to dinner and you're doing a lot of shots or whatever. But a lot of these, there's a lot of heavy drinking that's part of, you know, just doing business. And so there is an online, kind of like an Uber-ish kind of service in China that they offer not only designated drivers to get these drunken businessmen and their cars home, but also a designated drinker service to just do the heavy drinking for them. And people that are like registered in this service and are like, how much can they drink and what's their beverage of choice and things like that. Like, oh, I can drink an entire keg and I'm fine. Or I can drink 5 bottles of wine and be fine, or whatever. I can do 20 shots, whatever. But they're like all braided and everything about what they can do. So, you know, Miss Boyfriend is actually, or girlfriend might want to look into signing up to be one of those and just drink her problems away and get paid for it. But yeah, it's like you're basically getting paid to drink if you are actually one of these people. And I'm pretty sure you couldn't have this service here for obvious reasons, like in the States. You know, the designated driver side of it, I think Uber even actually does that. But the designated driver thing, yeah, absolutely. I don't think you could have a designated drinker service. I don't think they could actually, I don't think it's legal in the States to pay somebody to drink for you. At least not in an official capacity. It's weird, but I totally understand it, because lots of alcohol impairs your judgment, and you don't want impaired drunk judgment when you're trying to negotiate a contract. So, yeah, pay somebody to do the drinking for you. So, yeah, only in China. Yep. Hashtag because China. So, again, and not too much, I'm not so much making fun of Chinese stuff today. Just a lot, it was just weird stuff. It was like, you know what, this was more educational. It was educational about some weird stuff in China and the Chinese housing crisis. And apparently there just aren't models enough for all the dresses. So sometimes you have to model your own dresses. But, that's not that bad. But, of course, one thing is missing. It's time for the Jackass of the Week. Vegan blasts girl's tofu recipe for appropriation. Yeah, so like this unnamed vegan started ranting at a girl online after he complimented her on her tofu recipe because he found out she wasn't also vegan. He starts ranting and raging at her, claiming tofu is for vegans and it's only for vegans and vegetarians, and that you making tofu recipes and eating tofu is appropriation, and you're just doing it to be hip and cool. Some people, this is a lifestyle choice, and you're just appropriating it to be cool. And she's like, no, I just don't like meat, so I eat tofu. That's it. But, and she's like ranting and raving and raging at this girl who just happens to like tofu. I don't know why. Fuck, bleh. Sorry, I want a steak, not a soy log. But, like, this girl prefers tofu, and so she made a bunch of recipes for tofu. Guess what? Alton Brown from Good Eats has tofu recipes in his cookbooks. Not a vegetarian. But yeah, it's like, it's only, like, tofu is only for vegetarians and vegans, and it's made for vegetarians and vegans. I'm like, no, it's not. And I hate people who aren't misinformed. They're just ignorant for their own sake. And in this specific case, they think that tofu was invented as a meat substitute for vegans and vegetarians and people who don't eat meat. No. Why did this end up here? Because tofu was invented by the Chinese. By accident. That's it. It's kind of a staple of Japanese cuisine because in China and Japan, meat is expensive. Period. It's just like, especially in Japan, it's an island chain. It's like cattle, hard to come by. Fucking expensive. It's harder to come by meat in these in these countries. Like, especially like what we look at is like livestock, land meat. It's like they've got chicken. There's a lot of chicken. There's a lot of seafood. But beef, harder to come by. Pork, a little bit harder to come by. Easier than beef, but tofu, soybeans, fucking everywhere. There's soybeans all over the place. They use soybeans in a ton of stuff. So, like, soy is a huge part of Asian diets in a very general way. Ever since they invented tofu in China for a bajillion years ago, it's been a major part of the diet. It was appropriated by vegetarians and vegans because it is animal free. The funny thing about that is tofu tends to get flavored with beef, like animal product. It's like, oh, you don't want to buy, you don't want a steak, but you would like tofu that tastes like steak. Guess what? They soak it in beef broth. Yeah, that's how they do it. Tofu is basically a sponge. You wring it all out and then you soak it in a flavorful thing to make it taste like that thing. So you soak tofu in beef broth, you now have beefy tofu. And it's just kind of like the consistency of like, I don't know, cream cheese, or I don't know. I don't eat tofu because I'd rather eat a steak. But yeah, this person is bitching and ranting and raving at this girl for appropriating vegan culture. Like, it's not a culture, it's just a diet. And so many, and this is obviously the kind of vegetarian or vegan that is doing it to be hip. Because you're getting all fucking social justice warrior on a girl who just happens to like tofu. It's like, I have an ex-girlfriend who was a vegetarian for a while and ate veggie burgers. And she still eats veggie burgers to my knowledge because she just liked veggie burgers. That's it. It's like she gave up being a vegetarian because, well, it's tough being a vegetarian in high school in Texas. And it's easier to, it's like trying to pass up a regular hamburger or chicken or barbecue chicken. Like, be in Texas and not eat barbecue. It just gets tough. So, yeah, but still likes veggie burgers. And even, like, I know the guys from Pre-Recorded Live, they talk about the veggie burgers, that they prefer a veggie burger a lot of the time. And they'll say, like, yeah, it's like, I either want, like, this super deluxe awesome beef for my burger, or I'd rather have a veggie burger. I'm like, sure, okay. You want a bean sprout burger or tofu or whatever? Go ahead, that's you. But to say that, you're appropriating vegan or vegetarian culture, you're not appropriating shit. You're choosing a protein product in a meal. It's just food. Like, again, the vegans and vegetarians appropriated a food from China and Japan to fit their thing. So, fuck you, Mr. Random Vegan dumb fuck who doesn't know what he's talking about, making a little girl, I wouldn't say little girl, she's, young lady, making this girl, trying to make, she was perfectly like, dude, you back the fuck up. But, like, trying to put down this girl due to your own ignorance, because you're a dumb fuck, Mr. Unnamed Vegan Man. And because, and I've said it about a lot of people, but I think this guy is definitely a jackass. But I'm going to take one last quick Potter and Family break, and I will be back with this week's recommended listening feature with a couple of very special guests to talk about Varmints.
Do you know what I hate, Bex?
What's that?
Movie trailers. Seriously, we go to the movies, we pay a shit ton of money to go and actually see the movie, and then I've got to wait 10-15 minutes to watch like 7 or 8 trailers for movies. Some of them I don't give a shit about, some of them I do, but I've seen them like 18 times on YouTube already. I don't want to see it, just play the goddamn movie!
But isn't that what this is?
What?
Isn't this like a trailer for our podcast, Gareth's Random Ramblings, that we try and do every single week, that you can find on Spreaker and iTunes, or you can check out on garethsrandomramblings.space?
You know what? I love trailers. They're the best.
He's just a guy. He loves to ramble randomly across the wire. It's Gareth.
Hi, this is Emily Prokop from The Story Behind, which is a podcast about the extraordinary history behind the ordinary. What does that mean? It means whenever my ADHD gets the best of me, I begin to wonder the stories behind everyday objects. This is the story behind sporks, behind chewing gum, behind hoodies, places. This is the story behind Mount Rushmore. This is the story behind speakeasies, or people. This is the story behind Uncle Sam. This is the story behind Betty White. Everything has a backstory, and from what I've noticed from doing the show, not everything is as plain and simple as history books may have you believe. Join me Mondays and Thursdays on your favorite podcast app, or at thestorybehindpodcast.com. And thanks for listening.
Recommended listening.
Hey, my name's Paul, and I'm not an animal expert.
I'm Donna, and I'm not an animal expert either.
And together we do a podcast about animals called Varmints.
Every week we pick an animal, do a bunch of research on it, and bring you some interesting facts about that animal.
But we don't stop there. We talk about that animal in movies, TV, and other pop culture.
And we talk about whether or not that animal would make a tasty dish, and how intelligent we think it is on the scale of 1 to 10.
It's exactly like one of those fancy PBS nature documentaries.
Except with more poo jokes.
New episodes go live every Thursday wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Or you can visit us at blazingcariboustudios.com.
Varmints! Varmints!
So, Varmints is probably one of the most recent shows that I've started listening to. And it's one of those shows where it's much like Twisted Philly, where I'd heard the name and I'd heard of the show a bunch of times, and I've heard it brought up on different shows, and I've heard Paul and Donna, and as guests on other shows, but I was never totally, interested. I really was whatever, I wasn't so much intrigued, but I just kind of heard of them. And then I just had made a post. I think it was during just a podcast backlog, I guess, of, saying, I can't listen to any of my shows. Anything that I listen to, I really can't listen to anything but tech shows in the car with my kids. Because everything I listen to is explicit. It's got people that are swearing. And I swear in this show, but my kids don't listen to my show. The only time, and whenever you do hear an occasion where my kids are on the show, during the National Podcast Month, I don't swear. And I kind of try to make it a point not to swear around my kids. I'm not going to say I don't, but I try. And so I make it a point. I don't listen to shows with swearing. Because, of course, if the boys start swearing in front of my wife, she's going to blame me, even though it's more likely her. But that's a whole other thing. But when I kind of posted that up, one of the responses I got was a recommendation for Varmints, and saying it's completely, it's kid-friendly, it's clean, and it's about animals. And so I kind of look into it, and I was okay, well, and I start listening. This is a cool show. It's educational. It's silly. They have a funny way, humorous way of teaching you all these facts about whatever animals. And it's pretty cool. And so I started playing it while I was driving the boys to school. And it took them a little while to it had to grow on them a little bit. And I think it's because they got so used to me playing music. And so I'm suddenly playing a podcast. And I'm telling him, no, listen to it. It's about this animal. It's about beavers. And so it took a few episodes for them to kind of, I think it was just find the right animal, what's an animal that they were going to be interested in, that when they start talking about it, they were going to stop and focus and listen. But as soon as they got that first one, and I honestly cannot remember which one it was. I think it was, I don't want to say it was, no, I think it was otters, because kids love otters because otters are cute. And it was kind of a big part of that episode. Otters are cute, but it was either chickens or otters. And it was when they were on break over the holidays, and so they were kind of re-releasing their favorite shows. And so the boys were listening to that, and they really started digging it and learning new facts. And again, they love otters. They actually have otter books and things like that, because otters are cute. I think everybody can agree otters are cute. But yeah, it was just kind of, and there was that click, and suddenly the boys want to listen to Varmints, and they're asking me I'm just checking, hey, what animals, what are we going to listen to today? And I'm running down a list of animals and of what, episodes, and I'm digging the show, and my wife is giving me shit because I will listen to it. And I think the one that I got the most excited for, and I straight up had a cheesy, squee moment, was the platypus episode, because they said they do a segment of the show where they talk about whatever said animal in pop culture and movies and TV. And so they did the platypus, and I'm like, there's no way they're going to do platypus without doing Perry the Platypus. And like, they're going to go like in the pop culture segment, they're going to talk about Perry the Platypus from Phineas and Ferb. Like, nope. They straight up opened the show with the Agent P song. I'm like, and as soon as I heard that doobie doobie doo, I was like, holy fuck, they're going to do it. And they played the entire Perry the Platypus song as the opening of the show. And it's funny because like Paul had heard it. Donna had never heard it. And so it's the first time I ever heard her like actively laughing through the opening music, which I always assumed was just kind of put in aside, kind of like I do here, where the music and everything is added in after the fact. They like, nope, they play the music live apparently. And in playing the music live, she's sitting there laughing through the Perry the Platypus song because it's hilarious, because it's a secret agent platypus. And if you don't have that context of like, he's, Agent P is Perry the Platypus, semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal of action. And she just was tickled by that. And then just, yeah, I was like, nope, you just made my whole episode. But then later on, when they played, like, here's a clip of what a platypus sounds like. And again, if you ever watched Phineas and Ferb and you know Perry the Platypus makes one sound. And I'm not going to try and do it. But they go and play a clip of an actual platypus. And I'm like, holy shit, that's what a platypus actually sounds like. Their little gurgly, growly noise that Perry makes. That's what they actually sound like. It's like they're kind of gurgly, growly underwater, and it's pretty much accurate. And I was like, holy shit, that's what they actually sound like. And I literally stopped and texted my wife. I'm just like, holy shit, that's what a platypus really sounds like. At what point she calls me, what? Why? I get this text from you. What are you talking about? And I was like, I'm listening to Varmints, and they're talking about a platypus, and they played the Perry the Platypus song, and then they played an actual platypus, and an actual platypus actually sounds like Perry. And she just, it's like, really? This is what you're texting me about? This is so important. I was like, yes, because we've seen every single episode of Phineas and Ferb, and the boys have both a regular Perry the Platypus that makes the sound, and an Agent P with his fedora and everything. So, like, at one point, we watched 2 hours of Phineas and Ferb every day. So, Perry the Platypus was an important part of our all of our kids' upbringing. Speaking of kids, the one segment on the show that's really cool, and it's kind of like, it really hammers in that it is a show aimed at children, and aimed at parents and children to have fun and learn about animals, is their Rugrats Corner, where they have a kid come on and kind of say something they know or a fact or something about the animal of the day. And as such, who better to bring on and talk about varmints than my two oldest boys, and kind of the ones that are more articulate in this matter. Oh, trust me, the little ones wanted to be on too, but I figured that would just be too much chaos for one show. So, here is a little bit I did with my two older boys, Charlie and Damien. So, since they do the Rugrat Corner on Varmints, I've invited two of my Rugrats to join me today to talk about the show, because this is a show that I actually let my kids listen to. So, I guess I will introduce you. Go ahead. What's your name and how old are you?
Hi, my name is Charlie and I'm 8 years old. Hi, my name is Damien and I'm 5 years old.
And Charlie, where do we listen to Varmints?
We would normally listen to Varmints on the way to school and back from school.
Hey, and Damien, you like listening to Varmints?
I like listening to Varmints, yes.
What's your favorite show? What's your favorite animal that they talked about?
My favorite animal is polar bears.
You like the polar bears?
Yeah.
What about you, Charlie? What was your favorite animal?
My favorite animal from Varmints was actually Komodo dragons. I've chosen mine.
All right. So, hey, Damien, what is your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is an elephant because it drinks water and it splashes it all over it with its trunk.
What about you, Charlie? What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is a black bear because their colors of their fur, they change depending on the season. And
that's pretty cool.
And they're mostly only in caves or forests.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if they've done a show on black bears yet. I think we'd have to look. But that'd be pretty cool. All right. Well, I do want to... We're going to keep it quick. But I just want to say thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Damien, for coming on really for this little bit and talking about varmints and talking about your favorite animals because it was cool. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You have no idea how much work it was to get my boys to calm down long enough to sit down and do that. But it was really nice. And I felt like it, with this show, with Varmints, it was most fitting to have them on because they're the reason I listen. I mean, I have no problem listening to the show without them, but they were kind of the inspiration for me to start listening to Varmints. And it's something that I like for them because it's educational and it's fun. And and they like it. Like I said, it took them a little bit because they were so used to listening to music all the time. But once they got into it, then they're really into it. And we're going through, the back catalog because we listen every day. And oddly enough, I have a very long wait while we're picking up the boys and taking them to school every day. And so, yeah, we burned through a lot of episodes. So I think we're going to get caught up pretty soon. I think I'm going to have to find something else to listen to on top of it. Or we'll just go back to music and we'll have like Varmints days. But you can find Varmints at blazingcariboustudios.com. And they're among multiple shows that are part of Blazing Caribou Studios. But just click on Varmints and check them out. It's a fun show. It really is. I'm really glad that it was recommended to me, and there were, a few other people at the time that when it was first recommended, it absolutely backed them up and were like, yeah, this is a great show for kids and to listen to, and it's educational, and it's funny. It's just a good time. And so I really like it, and I absolutely, if you have kids, absolutely, you should be listening to Varmints. Because it's just a fun show. It's great for kids. And again, it's educational. It's fun. And I know I keep saying this over and over again because I am just a walking broken record. But I love when you can teach something in a fun way. Very old school Sesame Street. You learned because it was fun. And that's what Varmints does. And you learn everything about like what they eat. Where do they live? And I've learned tons of things about animals and kind of misconceptions about animals and reminders of pop culture things and, angry beavers and things. I love it. I love the pop culture references because I'm just a bundle of pop culture references myself. But yeah, it's just a good time to be had by all when you're listening to Varmints, and the time flies by. You don't realize it's almost an hour. It's around an hour long show. You don't realize that time just flies. You look up and you're like, wow, I've been listening. Time flies listening to Varmints. It's just such a fun show and you get so much out of it. So check it out. Find Varmints. It links in the show notes or check them out at blazingcariboustudios.com. You know what that means. That sound means it's time to go. God, I just hope it's not going to jury duty. All right. Thank you so much for listening each and every week. Again, thank you to everybody who's left their reviews on iTunes and anywhere. And all of you listening right now or subscribe to the show. Again, if you dig the show, share it out. Share it with a friend. Share it on social media, whatever you dig. Because that's the best way to help me. Reviews are great, but just sharing the show is awesome. And remember, you can get the links to all of those news stories and pictures of a Chinese man in a dress and the video of the tiny little concrete houses all in the show notes at odddadout.blogspot.com. Subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. It just comes right to you. And remember, you can always get in touch with me on Facebook and Twitter at odddadout. Or if you're old school, just email me, odddadout@gmail.com. I'm still taking submissions for recommended listening features. And remember, if you send me one, you will be entered for a chance to win an Odd Dad Out goodie bag that I have yet to piece together. Anyway, all that rambling aside, thank you so much for listening in. And because I still haven't come up with a more original way to end the show, thank you and good night.